Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and ooh, it smells good in my studio today because we have chocolates. We are going to look at a fun Valentine that can be created in the use of candy. If you look here, this is just a really neat looking box. When I take the lid off, you can see inside is I have M&Ms here and I have little cinnamon heart-shaped candies here, but the way they're presented with the red candies inside the heart and the pink and the white candies on the outside, it is easy to do and makes it just that much more unique and more fun and clever. And then of course you get to eat it. Now obviously, if you look at the size of the box that I used, I just loved this box. It has a little a fabric, a silk fake flower on the top, which I thought was really beautiful, and I just liked it. But it is tall, so it's going to take a lot of candy to fill it. If you're giving your Valentine to young kids and you don't want them to have this much candy, then you just need to look for a more shallow box. There are lots of choices. Here is a larger but much more narrow box, but look at it, even comes smaller, even smaller still. So the box that you choose will dictate how many candies you're going to need to put to fill the design that you're going to put inside. It doesn't need to be a circle. It can also be a square, because what's going to fit inside is a heart, and it looks equally good inside a square or a circle. What I had on hand were these boxes that I'm just going to reuse from an old gift. This one is just white, but decorated. Look what it becomes. And this is just to kind of mimic the box that I bought because I liked it so much. I just made polka dot pattern paper around the outside edges, a pink and red stripe detail around the top, and then the top is covered with, this time, a paper instead of a silk flower, but all layered up. And inside, we're going to see how easy it is to make a heart out of paper that you can put inside. Right now, while we're looking at the box, I want to point out to you that the width of your paper, it's going to vary based on whatever size box you select. This one, notice how it needs to sit inside. So the width of my paper just needs to be able to clear the sides or the width of the box. If I were using this box, I would need for it to be thinner. The length of it varies based on how big of a heart that you want to make. This heart was made with 8.5-inch strip of paper, and we'll make a larger one out of 11-inch strip of paper. First of all, let's begin by decorating the box itself. So let me pull up this is what that white box looked like before, and notice my box actually has flaps. Well, that's nice and clever, if you're not doing something like this, but I don't want this to get in the way of my design that's going to show inside. So let me show this. I have double stick tape. Any strong aggressive adhesive is all you need. If you have a glue gun, and then I'm just going to fold them in and press them down, and that way it will prevent any of the design from being obscured by those flaps. Now also, if you look inside, you can see that the bottom of the box, when I turn it over, the way that the box assembles, it creates a bumpy area inside. So all I did was just took a piece of white chipboard, or actually cardstock, and just dropped it inside so that I have a nice flat surface for this to sit on. I don't want any candies to escape out of the bottom and mess up my pattern. So to decorate the box, I've just cut polka dot paper, and I'm going to put adhesive. I've trimmed it so that it will fit around, but it's left a spot because I want to add a contrasting band at the top. So my paper was 12 inches wide, and I want the strip to be as wide as it can be to fit around the box. So what I'm going to do, I don't want the seam to be in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down so that it lines up with the bottom. And then press. Do the same thing going both directions. look at that. That came out nice. This one edge, I could fold it, but it's so little, I have a feeling it's going to want to pop back up. I think the easiest thing to do is just to trim it off, because I want the back to be decorated too. So I'm going to take another piece and go around the back. All I'm going to do, I don't need this piece to be so long. I need to cover the back and just go a little ways to meet the paper on both sides. So what I'm going to do is just line this up and then fold it over, going both directions. So you end up with a pattern that goes all the way around the edges. I'm not too worried about where this connects because I'm going to put a colored strip. So this was construction paper, which means I think it's 24 inches long or 18 inches. Long enough that one strip is going to work for the whole box, which is really nice. So I'm going to just line this up. If I line it up with the top, then I can be certain that it will be straight and I don't have to worry about matching my pattern. It's just covering right over the pattern, and I'm just wrapping it around. Oops, I can see I got a little crooked there. That's better. And then continue with this one. Continue around to the back. So you end up with the two colors. If you want an additional, I wanted to introduce pink, I went back then and I added pink that I cut. This is a 1/2 inch wide strip and I just placed it going around the edge. It's easiest to do it afterwards so that you don't end up trying to fold on a little tiny piece that's going to want to pop back off. If you look here at mine, you can see that the pinks never are overlapping one of the fold lines. So if you want to add, you know, a stripe to the pattern, you can do that as well. And then I cut more of the polka dot paper in the dimensions that would match the cover or the lid to the box. So I'll go ahead and put my adhesive on this. Remember, you're going to use more adhesive than I do. I just want enough to hold it in place long enough to put it together so you can see how to build it. So you're going to decorate the lid, and now you want to look at the floral. And what I did in mine was I used a Sizzix die that has all these things on one shape, which is really handy. I have them laid out here so you can see. I'm going to start with, move these out of the way, I'm going to start with the larger one, and notice I want to raise it with a little foam adhesive that I have on the back, and then I'm going to layer these others on top. So all I need to do is just put some adhesive on the back, and I'm only putting it in the middle because I kind of think it looks good to curl the edges a little. So once it's all together, I'm going to go back and curl the edges up just a tad. So putting adhesive in the centers. When I cut red and pink paper, what I ended up with was enough to layer them this way for this one, and then switching the colors. So one pass of red and pink paper generated all of this. I think in order to put the middle in there, I'll use my tweezers so you can see. I'm going to remove the backing off the adhesive and attach that. And then there also on the die, there's this little center. When you're trying to fasten something down that's tiny like this, it's easy to take a Post-it note and just take this and place the part that you need to adhere onto the sticky part of the Post-it. And then it will hold it in place, which makes it easy for you to go back and add your adhesive. Then, because the Post-it's removable, it pulls right off, and you're able to go ahead and layer that together as well. If you want your flowers to kind of look realistic, I use just my fingers to do a little bit of curling. I just go around the flower like this. And you know, as I'm doing this, I'm realizing it probably would have been easier to do each of those, to curl them before I stuck them. But In both cases, I did it after because I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not. Once you have the flower to your liking, then I'm just going to peel the backing off. I'll pull this over and place this into the center. And you've created a really cool looking Valentine box. The fun part is to create the heart that's going to hold the candy inside. So once again, remember the width of your paper is based on the height of your box. The length is depending on how big of a heart you want. I'm going to use, this is an 11-inch length, and the one that's already inside here is 8.5-inch length. So I'm going to put this one together and then we can compare and you can see the two sizes. In order to do this, what I'm going to do is put my adhesive, I'm going to curl this around like so. I'll do this so that the heart faces you. And see how it's going to make that heart shape? But because I've used, fairly heavy cardstock, it needs a really aggressive adhesive or it's going to want to just pop back open. So all I need is just an edge of adhesive, and this comes in a roll or in sheets, and I have just taken a piece of it. What I'm going to do is peel off the backing off the bottom. I'm putting pink on pink, but hopefully you can see it. Just on the edge, I'm going to trim off the excess. It's really aggressive, so be sure you don't set the excess someplace where it can ruin another project. And I'm going to just make sure it's stuck. And now I'm going to peel off the backing off of the top, which is just leaving this double sticky tape now. And all I need to do is curl this around until it's going to want to touch. I usually do this, trying to do this so you can see the adhesive, but all I have to do is get it so that it's lined up, and when it starts to touch, it's going to grab like so. And once it starts, then all I have to do is just reach in there with my hands and push. And you can see by folding the paper in half first, I get the tip of the heart, and then putting adhesive on the end and attaching the ends together, you get this really cool heart. This is the heart that is created when I started with a strip of paper that was 11 inches long. This is the heart that I got with 8.5 inches long. It depends how much of the candy do you want in this and how much of the candy do you want on the outside. So if I use, let me pull one of these in and show you. If I use this one, I'm going to have less red candy in the middle and more of the pink candy on the outside. And if I use this one, I'm going to have more of the red candy on the inside and less of the pink on the outside. I think I'll go ahead and do the smaller so that we can really see all the different colors. And it doesn't have to be 11 or 8.5. It could be 10 or it could be 9. It's up to you. You can play and see what you want. But once you have the heart shape created, it's time to fill it with candy. Now, the candies that I used, if you look at the table, I used these cinnamon candies. And then this time of year, M&M's makes candies, but they come mixed and they come with a couple shades of pink and white and red. So what I did is I separated them out. Here from one bag of candy are the pinks and the whites, all of which I used. If I bring this and show you, just to remind you, this is what I used, the pinks and whites. I didn't separate those. Those are on the outside. I just have the red on the inside. Now, I could put the red M&Ms, but because I had to take the red out of all of this, I right now have a lot of red M&Ms. So we're going to go ahead and put the red M&Ms in the middle. It should work just as well. Now, all I'm going to do is just fill this with red candies. And you know what? It's kind of hard for me to see from this angle with the lid of the box. I'm going to turn this a little bit so I can see in here a little bit better. And bend this down so that I can fill just the heart with the M&Ms. I'm going to go pretty much to the top. Oops, one got loose, but I can pick him out and put him, once it's in there, you don't want to do too much moving because you don't want any to escape out of the bottom. I may end up putting a little more of the red M&Ms in the top, but I may not.
I'll see once. So once you have this and you have it positioned, if you're going to move it, you need to slide it so all the candies go with it. So when it's right in the middle of where you want it, then it's just a question of adding in the other candies. And I don't know by separating out one if I even have enough. I'm going to turn this so that I can get some on the top as well. So you can see the size. This was a large enough box that I don't have enough of the pink and white candies. I'm going to need to open up another bag. And as the red has settled, I might even put a few more of the red M&Ms in there as well. But the red M&Ms work just as well as the cinnamon. Once it's full, then obviously you don't want to turn it upside down or whatever. You want to present it to somebody just like this. This is not a good thing to try to send through the mail. I have a hunch that that wouldn't be a good thing to do. But you can see when it's finished and you have the candy up to whatever level you want, just what a cool and a unique way that is to present some Valentine candy. So if you want to put a new twist on an old classic, try making heart-shaped dividers inside your candy boxes for a super sweet presentation. Remember, I love hearing your comments. Be sure to share us with your scrapbooking and your crafting friends. Don't forget to sign up for these free weekly videos. However, if you want access to hundreds of past episodes, then you might want to consider joining the Gold Club. Bye for now.